Thomas Heaton, who is quite a famous landscape and travel photographer, recently visited India. And guess what? He visited Ranthambore Tiger Reserve and he made a video about it. It's titled I Did Wildlife Photography in India. So I thought maybe, just maybe, it's worthwhile to go through this video together. Hopefully, we can all learn something from it. Let's begin.
To see and to photograph a tiger in the wild is something that I never thought I would get to experience. A majestic creature prowling through the jungles of India. This was truly a moment to savor. Yeah.
Welcome to Ranthambore, I guess. See, Ranthambore is probably India's most popular tiger reserve. It's regarded widely as one of the best places, I think, in the country to see tigers in the wild. And because of that, it draws people from everywhere. You've got multiple safari zones, I think 10, hundreds of vehicles going in every day. And when there's a sighting, especially in these core zones, everything just converges to one place. And see, the thing is, it's not just about the tigers, right? Like, the park is stunning. You've got lakes, you've got old ruins, you've got forts. It's got a very different character compared to most of the other tiger reserves in India. And because of that, it's hugely popular with photographers as well. Because you can get some amazing iconic shots of tigers walking past these ruins or lakes. So yeah, it's wild, but it's also quite a bit of a spectacle.
Anticipation bubbled as I entered Ranthambore National Park, but my first outing resulted in 0 tiger sightings. So far, no sign of any tiger.
Yeah, so that's completely expected, right? So this is something a lot of people don't realize about tigers. Just because you're in a place like Ranthambore Tiger Reserve or Tadoba for that example, it doesn't mean that you'll get a guaranteed tiger sighting. See, it depends on a lot of things. For example, the tiger's movement, the weather, the timing, and honestly, a fair bit of luck. I have done safaris where I've gone 8 to 10 times out in the jungle and came back with nothing. Tigers by nature are elusive animals and they don't generally want to be seen. So it's always tricky. But again, this is just his first drive and it's totally okay not to spot a tiger in the first safari.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video from Ranthambore National Park in India. We have the big boy, the 500mm, and we are going into the national park looking for tigers. Now,
So, interesting choice because in a place like Ranthambore, I wouldn't carry a 500mm lens. See, Ranthambore is not just about the tiger, it's also about the environment. That environment is unlike anything else you'll actually find in India. The lakes, the ruins, the scale of the landscape. And when you go in with something like a 500mm, your instinct would be just to fill the frame with the tiger. And I think that is where you will start missing out on the story. And to think about it, on top of that, the tigers in Ranthambore are quite bold. They come really close to the vehicle. So a 500mm lens can actually end up being just too tight. If it was me, I would carry something of a 70 to 200. That gives me a lot more flexibility. I can go tight when I need to, but I can also pull out and include the environment. And that's pretty much what you can take away from here, right? Like your lens choice shouldn't only be dictated by the subject. It should also be informed by the location you're actually traveling to.
during that first encounter with the tiger, I was able to fire off a handful of shots, none of which I'm particularly happy with. They're okay, a record shot. But
honestly, this is what most first sightings look like. You're excited, you get the shot. It's a tiger, it's close, it's sharp. The editing is absolutely beautiful, by the way. But there's no story yet. See, don't get me wrong, the images are quite beautiful, but like he said himself, they're not masterpieces, they're more of a record shot. And that's the difference. Seeing a tiger is one thing, Being able to photograph it is a completely different game. And in my experience, to get truly strong tiger photographs, you almost have to move past the tiger itself. What I mean is, you have to reach a point where you are not completely overwhelmed just by spotting the tiger. Because once that initial excitement settles down, you start noticing everything else: the light, the background, the moment, and obviously the frame that you want to create. And that's when your photography starts to change. And that's when you start creating images that will stay with people. And I think it's his first time photographing tigers. When you bake in that perspective, these images are actually good. If I compare these images to the first images of the tiger that I took, they're not even close.
And here in Ranthambore National Park, well, it wasn't as serene as the images make it appear. I know that I'm here. I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, and this is where things get a little uncomfortable. Because when you see something like this, so many vehicles around a tiger, I know it doesn't feel right. It looks chaotic, and at times, yes, it can stress out the animal. But you have to look at the other side of this. See, tourism plays a massive role in conservation, and I don't think people fully understand this. When a park like Ranthambore becomes famous, it creates livelihoods. People get jobs as drivers, guides, hotel staff. Some even build businesses around it. Entire local economies start depending on wildlife tourism. And that matters. It matters quite a lot because the people living around these forests are the ones who deal with the real consequences of living near tigers, not us. They are the ones facing human wildlife conflict. They are the ones taking that risk. So if they are not on board, conservation simply doesn't work. It's that simple. And tourism is what keeps them on board. Now, yes, if you have tourism, you will have situations like this. Too many vehicles, too much pressure. And I'm not saying this is ideal. It's not. All I'm trying to say, this is not a black and white problem. See, I meet photographers all the time who are frustrated with overcrowding. But there's also a bit of hypocrisy there. You can't complain about the crowd if you are a part of it. Just because we have a camera and a big lens doesn't make us any different. See, at end of the day, tiger conservation is much bigger than any of us or any photograph that we are able to take. The animal has to come first. So yeah, we need to find a balance between tourism and overcrowding. I think everyone would agree to that. But I hope you understand that it's not an easy problem to solve. There are a lot of layers to it.
So one of the problems is definitely positioning. You can't position our vehicle because there's so many other vehicles in front, so you kind of get stuck in a traffic jam, and then it's just a lot.
And that, my friends, is 95% of wildlife photography: angles and positioning. That's the game. See, you can have the best sighting in the world, but if you're not in the right spot, especially in this kind of chaos, you are just not getting the shot.
After struggling with the pile-up of vehicles, we agreed that we would rather have a lower chance, say 50-50, of seeing the tigers, yet remain quiet and still and patient.
Now, see, that is actually a really good strategy, and it's something I do all the time. See, every tiger reserve has its famous tigers, the ones that are seen the most often. And naturally, that's where all the crowding will happen. So, one approach is to move away from all of that and explore the quieter areas of the park, the areas where sightings are less frequent but also far less crowded. Now, yes, your chances of spotting a tiger will drop. That's the trade off. But if you do get lucky, you end up with a completely different kind of sighting. No chaos, no pressure, and you can actually photograph the animal properly without even stressing it out. And that's where your better images usually come from. Of course, the flip side is that you might come back with absolutely nothing.
Changing our approach to photographing the tigers was clearly beginning to pay off. And going into the next day with this new approach was going to...
So, very interesting. See, you can actually learn a lot from this frame. In wildlife photography, we are often told to keep things clean, right? Clean background, no clutter, nice blur. And this image, it breaks all of those rules. See, there's clutter everywhere, branches, foliage. It's quite messy, to be honest. But it works. It's a brilliant frame. Simply because this is real. This is where the tiger actually lives. Inside all of this. Not just on the clean open trails where we usually photograph them on. And on top of that, it's just a simply beautiful moment. The tiger stepping out of the bushes, that front paw touching the water. So, yeah, sometimes you don't need to hide that chaos. Embrace it and show the real jungle. Trust me, it makes for great photos at times. And also, the strategy worked for him, right? So, he took the risk, and here's the reward.
And not just more selective with my shooting, more selective with the lenses I'm using. You see, the 500mm prime has been pretty much glued to my Nikon Z8. And the problem is, when you see that wildlife, your instinct is to fill the frame with the subject. I would challenge any photographer out there not to take that approach when photographing wildlife. Trust.
Exactly. Get out of the portrait trap. I have said this so many times on this channel now. Until you start shooting wider, it's very hard to tell a real story. See, the animal is just one part of the frame. The habitat, the environment, that's a huge part of what actually makes an image work. And he's absolutely right here. See, when you start shooting wider, you tend to start creating images that can actually stand out, not the same tight, clean portraits that pretty much everyone already has. So, yeah, start shooting wider. End of discussion.
Let me tell you a quick story that you will not believe. This is a banyan tree. While sat waiting patiently close to a banyan tree, I turned to the group jokingly and said, "Wouldn't it be amazing if a tiger was to walk through that banyan tree?"
So, did you notice that? He is essentially pre visualizing the frame. And this is something we've talked so much about, right, on this channel. So while he's waiting for the tiger, he's not just sitting idle, he's already thinking about compositions, imagining what the frame could look like if the tiger walks through that banyan tree. And that's incredibly powerful in the field. See, because if you build this habit, you've already made your decisions before the moment actually happens. So when the tiger actually shows up, you're not scrambling, you're not figuring things out on the spot, you just shoot. And the best part is, even if nothing happens, you're still improving. See, you're training your eye, you're refining your sense of composition. And over time, that just makes you a better photographer.
Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, today was my lucky day. As this tiger made its way down the track within Ranthambore National Park, she took a sudden turn to her right, towards the banyan tree. As soon as I saw this move, I switched out of video mode, which is what you see here. But what I can only assume was divine intervention. The tiger walked through the banyan tree into the light and out of the other side. This is it, everybody. This is the masterpiece that I was referring to. A moment I will never forget.
Wow, it's a great photograph. But what's more interesting to me is the whole process around it. He visualized the frame and it actually played out exactly like that. The tiger walks through that banyan tree into the light and he gets that shot. The way the tree frames the tiger, the movement, the alignment, everything about the composition, I think that's the real work. And this is something we often tend to ignore because we focus so much on getting the settings right. We often forget all about composition. But at the end of the day, composition is the most important aspect of photography. If you get that right, trust me, everything else just falls into place. So, yeah, overall, I think this was a great video. And what I really liked is that it wasn't just about seeing tigers, it was about how his approach evolved over the few days he was in Ranthambore. From the chaos to taking a step back, being patient, thinking about compositions. That shift, that's where the real learning is. He figured out what the right lens for the park is. He started visualizing the frames that would work. And then he was lucky enough to get a great image. And honestly, a lot of what he went through is exactly what most of us go through when we start shooting wildlife. You go in excited, you chase sightings, you shoot whatever you get. And then slowly you start realizing that it's not just about seeing the animal, it's also about how you actually see it, how you position yourself, how you compose the frame, how you choose your moments. And that is when your photography starts to change. So, yeah, a lot to take away from this video. All right, if you enjoyed this breakdown, do let me know in the comments. We can definitely do more of these. Thanks for watching. I am Shantanu and I'll see you in the next one.